Mike, great speech in Cooperstown.
Thank you.
You've written a book. I'm sure you have a great speech tonight. You want to talk about the writing process and how much you enjoyed it, or how it's been a struggle, or do you want to plan on writing another book after?
Thank you. Well, I can promise, definitely tonight won't be as long. So if there's a window and the game's going to be, so I'm going to be a little bit more ad lib tonight, just kind of more spontaneous. But as far as the hall speech, I mean, I just didn't want to write it too far out, because then I start to kind of pick at it and maybe critique it too much. But it just literally, I started on Monday the week before. It took me a couple days. I shouldn't say, I actually started a little bit of an outline when I was coming back from Europe the week before and just started framing it up. But yeah, I was blessed that that I was able to get everything out. And the funny part was a couple of the veterans were razzing me about how long it was because it was hot. But that was just good-natured fun. But no, I was just fortunate that I was able to finish, because it was obviously emotional and tough.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lee.
Mike,
Yeah.
obviously it's been kind of a whirlwind time for you.
Yeah.
What does this honor mean, coming so quickly, the ceremony coming so quickly after the last?
Yeah, I mean, when you make plans, 6 or 7 months ago, it's seems a little easier than when the time comes. But it's just been euphoric. I mean, I've been so blessed, and I think it's important to really thank, Fred, Jeff, and the Mets. They were amazing. Lorraine with the planning, bringing family and friends in. They were just great. I mean, Jeff, as soon as the vote came out, Jeff was on a plane. He came down to my home in Miami and broke bread and said, we want to do this. Maybe it's better. We just kind of just barrel through because of the hall, and maybe it would have been a little tougher to reload in the fall. Hey, how you doing? And but it's exciting. Obviously, the weather looks a little iffy, but it doesn't matter. It's just good to be here, and I'm glad that and to note all the Mets fans that really showed up in Cooperstown. It was overwhelming for me. I mean, a lot of the veterans were busting our chops a little bit, driving up, trying to get us nervous, because they said, "Oh, it's a big crowd today." It was a big crowd, so it was just spectacular.
Marty?
Was there?
I'm sorry, Mark.
Was there a time before John gave you 31 that you considered a different uniform number?
Well, I was going to bribe him, so yeah, I was going to do whatever I could. But he was amazing. Another uniform number? Well, when I went to San Diego, obviously I wore 33. So anything 3 is kind of my lucky number. So
Why is that?
I don't know. I think because in high school I wore 13, and obviously that number doesn't have the best reputation. But so when I had the opportunity to get 31 from the Dodgers, it was the Mets story, as I said before that. Roger McDowell had 31, and yeah, he was with the Dodgers in '92. The Dodgers, yeah, '92, and then. Bobby Ojeda left. I caught Bobby Ojeda in '92, so Roger gave up 31. So that's when I took 31. So, but as far as Johnny, no, I was going to bribe him.
Mike,
Yes.
congratulations
Thank
on
you.
all your honors. You talked about the Mets fans making the trip.
Yeah.
We're outside all wearing your jersey. Can you describe your connection with the fans?
Can I describe it? I can't. It's something that I think defies any explanation. The way they've embraced me and my family, it's so heartfelt. And I mean, I think it kind of started, believe it or not, I think the last pitch at Shea, in a way. I remember going into the stadium, and the energy was so euphoric. And obviously having privilege to catch the last pitch from Tom Seaver. And I mean, again, I maybe it's a culmination of a lot of things. Just my journey here, and the struggle in the beginning, and staying here and embracing the city, and it's just been wonderful. I mean, I can't really describe it. So naturally, when I was voted in, it really, there wasn't even I kind of tried to keep it a little bit of a secret, but I didn't do a good job. You know, it was always going to be the Mets.
Mike, can you describe
Yes, sir.
the impact Doc Kennedy had on your life?
Well, he's talking about my high school coach, John Doc Kennedy. No, he was great. I mentioned in the speech, you know, how dedicated he was to the game, how much he loved the game, and from an early age, it just seems like there was a lot of people that, in a good way, were not just going to give me anything. And I remember in 10th grade, I was so disappointed that I didn't make the varsity. There was a pretty good ball player, and I was playing first base at the time. And he said, you didn't earn it. You have to go down to JV, and when you're ready, I'll bring you up. So in that sense, he was, that tough love was great. And he went on to be a pitching coach at Villanova, and I think he still scouts today, I think, for Boston. So he was great. So again, it's, as I said in my speech, the journey was something, so many people helping me from start to finish.
Mike, all of the events up at Cooperstown ran so smoothly. Did anything stand out as something that stood out in your mind as were you surprised that it happened, or pleased that it happened, or really shocked you that everything went so well? And also, real quick, when does it sink in about the permanence of your plaque being on the wall with all of those grades, and now your number hanging up on the rafters here at Citi Field?
I mean, I still think maybe I'm gonna, when I get home, I'm so emotionally drained, I'll probably end up sleeping for a week straight because of that, you know, the events that you laid out. To go back to your first question, I think the gravity kind of the event hits you when you check into the hotel and you see all the Hall of Famers start to come in. And then, of course, you know, the good being on a team, they start to haze you a little bit in a good-natured way. And you start to think about, man, you know, this is like an amazing fraternity and a great club to be in. And they just embrace you in the way they're treated, the way they treat you, you know, with Jane and Jeff and everybody there at the hotel. And it's just, I mean, and it's fun. I mean, we had a great time. I mean, it's like a big party. So it's, to me, that's really when it starts. And then the coolest moment was after the ceremony and you come back, and I don't know what giving birth is like, but I'm sure I felt like it after the speech. Johnny Bench grabbed Kenny and myself and just sat out on the Otesaga on rocking chairs and starts rocking. He says, "Just look out over the water. Think about it now. You're a Hall of Famer." What does that feel like? It felt like a therapy session, actually, but it was great.
Over here.
Mike,
Yeah.
you played for a couple of big personalities as manager, Tommy Lasorda and Bobby Valentine. Now, obviously, Lasorda was instrumental in you getting drafted, but in terms of playing for the two of them, describe the impact they had on your career, how they were similar, how they were different as game managers, the two of them.
I mean, very similar, because they have a history as well. Obviously, Bobby being drafted by the Dodgers and coming up through the Dodgers organization from Connecticut. So, I mean, Tommy's very well known for his affinity for Bobby, and Bobby played for Tommy, so they have similar styles. You know, I like colorful managers. I think, you know, the Earl Weavers and some of the names of the past, I've always thought that if the game would be very boring if everybody was the same. So I've always enjoyed big personality managers, and obviously Bobby at the time for us was gregarious and interesting and provocative and had an interesting relationship at times and pushed our buttons. You know, obviously, as I said in the speech, there's things that I didn't always agree with, and you never are in any team. But you know, Bobby at the time was great for the team, for the rivalry. As I said, for me, it was the right place at the right time, because he did push my buttons a little bit, and you know, I think knew how to drive me. So I always enjoy that. So I see a lot of similarities, and so yeah, I think maybe playing for Tommy prepared me a little bit to play for Bobby.
Like you said in your speech, that it felt like the 8 years here flew by.
Yeah.
Did it always feel like that, especially in the second half of your stay when you weren't contending as much and maybe had to play another position, things like that?
That's a good question. Well, I think maybe when you get into the minutia of the season and you go through those tough parts like the team is going through now, it may not seem like it's as quick, but generally, I heard a great expression: the days are long, but the years are short, and that's what I would describe it as. And yeah, I mean, and again, thinking and feeling like it did go by that quickly is just something that, as I said, and you miss it, and you miss the pressure of it, and you miss the downs, because, as I said in the quote, that you're never going to appreciate victory until you go through defeat, and that just makes it sweeter. So.
Back over here.
Mike, you talked about your place in Cooperstown. What's it like to be here with the names that retired here, a smaller group, Stengel, Hodges, and Tom Seaver?
Well, I mean, I think it's just shows the exclusivity of the club. I mean, Tom, obviously the franchise, and Casey, as I said, Joe with the history. I think it's a tremendous honor, and I think every team has maybe a little bit different philosophy on retiring numbers. So I think it's great that the Mets keep it very, very exclusive. So that's even that much more special. So it's a wonderful club, and it's special to me. I mean, symbolically for me as well. I mean, my son is here, and maybe when he's too young now to kind of realize, but it's going to be fun to take him a game here and say, hey, your dad was cool once. You may not believe it now, but I was. So that's. I mean, it's going to be up there, forever, and it's just. It's overwhelming, and as I said, you just start to think about how blessed, truly I am.
Joe.
Mike, up at the Hall of Fame, there's a display of your home run after 9/11. I know you've talked about it a lot, but I know you got a chance to see it when you were up there. Did it change your perspective at all, seeing it up there in the Hall of Fame? Because there aren't many singular moments that are in the Hall of Fame for a particular moment.
I think, I mean, I don't want to get emotional again, but to have it with me there on my plaque for eternity it's overwhelming, and I think, as I said, I've always tried to let people sort of put that in perspective, and for me, I just, as much as I hit the home run, I do feel like that it just wasn't me. It was everyone else helping me there. So the fact that everyone that was involved in that week is on the plaque with me is really special and overwhelming. So as you said, and I think if you think about it, I mean, it's probably a first for the Hall of Fame to have a moment like that. Obviously, that has really not a lot to do with baseball, on the plaque. Or at least makes baseball pale in comparison. It pales in comparison, the game does. Can I have some water, please, Jack? Some water, thank you.
What's the runner-up moment for you here? Looking back, that clearly 9/21 is above all others, but was there one before 9/21?
Well, I think maybe, is there one? I can't paint it to one, and I do think my career here really typifies what it's like to play in New York, the ups and the downs. Obviously, getting to a World Series and not being able to win it was frustrating. Thank you. There's so many moments inside the season, I think, because, the rivalries that we had with certain teams, obviously the Braves, the Yankees, and other teams, they took on larger than life sort of. They grew outside of just regular games. I mean, the inception of the Subway Series during the season, I got here obviously after '98, the first one. But, I mean, I think about those games with the Yankees here. They were awesome. I mean, and I just remember, you think about a season game, just the amount of hype that those games took on, and the amount of, I mean, you guys were here, you see it, it was crazy. I mean, it's always special when the Yankees and Mets play during the season, but back then it was pretty over the top.
Do you recall this when Brad Pons threw the wild pitch? You're at the bat.
Oh, that's funny. You know what it was? It was I was so locked in to trying to get the job done that when the ball got by, I really didn't even start to process it until the guys were already at home plate. It was so busy, yeah. But I remember, and it goes back to what I was saying about putting pressure on myself, that I was so locked in, and I was like, I am not going to swing at a bad pitch. And then he threw probably the worst pitch out of the first. So I'm glad I didn't swing at it, which would have been an interesting story.
Jerry, Mike, Pat kind of thumping Marty there. How about the home run against the Braves on June 30th, 2000 to cap the 10-run 8th inning? And also, how emotional do you think you'll be tonight?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I've been a wreck emotionally for this week, and I hope I hold it together. I think this occasion feels a little bit more festive, which is great, and it should be for the fans. But I can't help it because, I feel like I've been honored more than really any man deserves to be. I mean, I feel like I'm honored more than any ball player deserves to be. So that can really reach in and sort of, tug at your heart a little bit. And as you grow older, you just start to think, and I was on a morning show the other day, and there was a great quote on Mike and Mike, and he just said basically, when you're younger, you think about the results. When you're older, you think about the process. So I think maybe that's why men become more reflective and more emotional as they grow older. When you're in the fight, in the battle, you don't have time to get them. At least I didn't. And now when I'm retired, and then you have kids, and you have all those emotional things of life, you just, water turns on.
One last one from Mike.
The home run. Well, as I said, I mentioned Fonzie in my speech, and I mentioned what a joy it was to play with him, because we had such a great lineup back then, as far as guys picking each other up, and had great teammates. And that's another thing too. You think about the times on the road, and when you're retired and you move away and you're not close and you have families, you just don't see everybody as much as you should. So you do recall those moments.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for
Wait,
coming.
you here?